Hello, welcome to Renegade Inc. I am absolutely delighted to be joined by John Christensen, co-founder of the Tax Justice Network, and also Harold Crooks, writer and director of the film The Price We Pay. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for giving us your time. We know you're incredibly busy, especially tonight, Harold, screening of The Price We Pay in London. Let's talk a little bit about the film, and then John will come on to the Tax Justice Network. The Price We Pay. Tell us what the film's about and why you made it.
Well, the film, to boil it down to its essence, is about how the offshoring of the world's wealth is undermining two of the major social innovations of the 20th century, the middle class and the social welfare state. And as it's doing that, it's really pushing us into a post-democratic future. So the film attempts to take an audience in a way that is very understandable and lucid through the history and present reality of this offshoring. In popular culture, what I'm talking about is usually referred to as tax havens. But this is a film that I think, following other exposés of tax havens, goes much farther and much deeper, because what we learn in this film is, in fact, that tax havens are a legal and accounting fiction. As someone in the film says, the Caymans could disappear beneath the ocean and still be the fourth largest financial center on the planet. The real power, the real financial power, the control of this wealth remains here in London, in the city, in New York, in Zurich, in Paris, or whatever. But it's a very pernicious process that is very, very closely related to the acceleration of inequality in the Western world, beginning with what you might call the Thatcher-Reagan counter-revolution. So this is the subject of the film.
We'll come on to why you made it in a second. John, you've been working in this area for quite some time. Tax Justice Network, how long have you been going?
The network was launched in 2003, but the network is a network of professionals, some of whom have been working on this since the 1960s. Oh, really? In my case, I began working in this area in 1978. And what drew me into this in 1978, I was an Oxfam advisor, and we were looking at why poverty persisted in some of the world's poorest countries, which on paper, in many cases they were mineral exporting countries, should have been, by virtue of the fact that they had massive natural resources, amongst the richest countries in the world. What was happening here? And time and again, when we started in the time-honored fashion to follow the money, we came up against these tax havens and these legal fictions that Harold's been talking about. And at that time, in the late 1970s, tax havens were either being presented as very good things, helping to push tax rates down in the Western world, or they were being presented as somehow marginal, only of interest to kind of retired actors who wanted to flee the high tax regimes in Europe. So not much attention was paid to it, and I thought at the time, well, actually, I'm in a really good position to look at this because I come from Jersey. So
do you?
I'm a Jerseyman,
right.
So I can go and investigate. So my career was kind of laid out for me in the late 1970s. And gradually I began to meet some really interesting investigators in Washington and New York and around the world who were saying, look, these places are so much bigger. They are actually a full frontal assault on the nation state and on democracy and on regulation. So a big picture gradually emerged about how important these places are and why we need to pay much more attention to them.